Hi, grade 11s. Today we are going to look at the tangent function, which is basically y is equal to tan x. In this case, we'll be looking at the interval x, an element of negative 360 degrees to 360 degrees, meaning that the graph starts from there to there. We can chop it off so that you understand the things. We'll look at some of the questions. But before that, the period of this graph, they say it's 180 degrees. Why? The 180 degrees, if you look at the distance here from minus 90 to 90, that is 180 degrees. That's a complete wave within the space of 180 degrees. Even here you can see there's a complete wave. The complete wave here from 90 to 270, that's 180 degrees. See? That's 180 degrees. So the period of the tan graph is 180 degrees. Another way of working out the period of the function is to take the 180 degrees, then you divide that with the 1. Where is this 1 coming from? This 1 here is the coefficient of x over there. That's 1x. The coefficient is 1. So if it is 2 written there, so it means that we say 180 degrees divided by 2, which would give you 90 degrees. In this case, there is 1, so the period of this graph is 180 degrees. When you divide by 1, you still get 180. Let's look at some of the questions that you may be asked. Here they say, can you sketch the graph of tan x plus 1? Alright, so what has happened? You can see this is tan x. Now they say plus 1, which means that all of these points will have to shift them by 1 unit up, but you are only going to concentrate from minus 90 to 180. From minus 90 to 180 degrees. These are the points that have. So we'll shift this by 1 unit up, 1 unit up, 1 unit up, 1 unit up. So if we do that from 90 to there, we move the points up. So this point goes to there, and this one will go up to there, and this one will go up there, and then the one that will be there, and that one will be up there, and then the other one, this one here, so we went up, then that's up there, and then we stop there. They said up to 180 degrees. So now they are also asymptotes, remember. So the asymptote, they also shift. So from there to there, we've got still have asymptotes. So asymptote still there at there. I've got my asymptote over there, and then the other asymptote was there. Now let's see what happens when we now sketch this graph. So its points have been shifted up, so it means that the graph now forms something like this and like that. So the graph is forming something like this there. We stop there because they said we must start from minus 90 to 180. We stop there. Now here's the question. It says give us the period. The period, we said to work out the period, we say 180 degrees to divide by the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x there is 1, so we divide by 1, so the answer is 180 degrees. Next, discuss the transformation from y equals tan x. You can see the graph has been moved up by 1 unit, so we say it's a vertical shift of 1 unit up. Done. Let's look at another example. Say now we've got to draw a graph of y is equal to 2 tan x from minus 90 to 90. So from minus 90 to 90, I think we'll still have our asymptote there. So let's check there what will happen. Our asymptote are still at minus 90 and 90. So there's asymptote going there, and then it's 90 there. So what are they saying? Now they are saying that with this graph here, we've got to multiply the y values by 2. So if I multiply the y values by 2, so if you look at this graph here between minus 9, so multiply the y value by 2, so that will be up there. You multiply that by 2, it will stay there. You multiply this by 2, this is minus 1 here. The y value is minus 1. It goes multiplied by 2, it will go down there. So multiply the y value by 2, it's up there. So let's check. That's 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times minus 1 times 2 is minus 2. So we'll have a point there, we'll have another point there, this one will be a point up there. So what happens to the graph? Now the graph looks something like coming like this and this. Okay, so done. So what type of now? What's the period? So the period is, we say it's 180 degrees. You divide by coefficient of x. The coefficient of x is 1. So you divide by 1. So the answer is equal to 180 degrees. Discuss the transformation. So what has happened to the graph? What happened to this graph? It's been like stretched. You can see. So you call that the vertical stretch by factor of 2. Next, what about this one here? Say now, sketch the graph of y equals to tan of x plus 45. What has happened to the graph now? What's happening to the graph? Remember, when it's like this, what it means that we've got to solve for x when we've got the bracket here. Say x plus 45 degrees is equals to 0, so x is equals to minus 45 degrees. Meaning that the graph has been shifted 45 degrees to the left. So all of the points will be shifted 45 degrees to the left. So from minus 180 to 180, that's what we will look at. So the points 45 degrees to the left. So this point will be there, this point will be there, the asymptote will be moved as well, and this point will be up there, and then one will be up. So that's one last point there. We'll have it will be now in line with 180. So in line with the minus 180, we've got that point over there, and then our asymptote now is now here, shifted 45 degrees there. So I've got an asymptote over there, and then also now this point here, which was in line 45, now it's there, and the one that was at 0, now it's there, and that one was up there, so now it's there, and the asymptote is now there. Here's our asymptote there. So the next one there are these other points there. So this one is shifted to where the asymptote was, so it shifts to the left there. So we've got a point over there, and this one 45 degrees to there, and then the one which was up there shifted in line with 180 degrees. So now it is there. So if we draw the graph now, so our graph looks something like this. Now the graph looks something like that. Now the graph looks something like this. We stop there because the asymptote will be there. Now, answer the question. What's the period? The period, we always take 180 degrees, we divide by. Now, what do you divide by? The number which is next to x there, its coefficient there, so it's 1. Divide by 1, so the answer is 180 degrees. Discuss transformation of this graph. Transformation. So, what has happened? The graph shifted 45 units to the left horizontally. So, you can say it's a horizontal shift by 45 degrees to the left. Next question. Say now we've got to draw the graph of y is equals to negative tan x. How to draw this one? Now what has happened here? They say now it's negative 10x. So what has happened? So the graph is multiplied by negative sign. So what do we call that? So every y value is negative is multiplied by negative 1, which means that the graph now, this point will be multiplied by negative 1, and then it goes to there. That's negative 1 stays there. They multiply that by negative 1, so it becomes positive. So from 0 to 360, all the points will be like reflected like that. So which means that the point that we have here will have this one still there, and then we'll also have another point there at 45. Now the point will be there, but we'll still have our asymptote because it didn't shift, so its asymptote is still there at 90 degrees. So as the one at 270 will still be there, but the points have been inverted. So then the other point, this one here, would be up there. So this one is supposed to be here, so it'll be up there, and the other one will be still there. That one will be below, now will be there, and then now this one will be up there, so this will be up there, and this one will stay there. So if we were to draw the graph now, we can see that the graph is doing something like this, and then it's coming like this, and then you can see that it's coming like that. So answer the questions. You can see what's the period. So again, it's 180 degrees divided by coefficient of x is 1 equals to 180 degrees. Now discuss transformation. It's a reflection about the x-axis. Therefore, this one we say is a reflection about the x-axis. Cool. Now let's look at another one. Sketch the graph of this one. You can see now that this one here is negative x. This was negative y that were multiplied by a negative 1. So here the x was multiplied by negative. So this was a reflection about the x-axis. So this one will be a reflection about the x-axis. So you want between minus 90 and 90. Minus 90 and 90. If you reflect it about the y-axis like this, so this point will be here, this one will be on this side here. So if I were to put the points in here between minus 90 and 90, the asymptote will still be there. Is our asymptote also reflected anyway? So that's there, our asymptote. These there are asymptote, but what am I doing? The points are reflected, so reflect the point. So this is on this side, now this is on this side, it stays there. So I've got that point there, and then I've got this point here, and this one is now here. So if I were to draw the graph now, the graph comes like this. Okay, now answer the question. So what's the period of the graph? The period of this graph is 180 degrees divided by coefficient of x. Note, even if it's negative there, you take a positive value, you call it an absolute value. You'll find that in the graph they put in a book, so it's minus, then they put a minus with the numbers there. That just means it's a distance. So it's a distance of minus 1 from 0. It's 1 unit. So the answer here is 180 degrees divided by 1, and the answer is 180 degrees. Now discuss the transformation of this graph. What has happened? You can see we said it's a reflection about the y-axis. So this one here is a reflection about the y-axis. Next, this should be the last one, easy as the other ones that we did before. What about this one here? So the graph of y is equal to half tan x from minus 180 to 180. You must be careful here. There is half x. In this case here is a half x. What happens to the graph? Because it's a half there, it means that we are stretching the graph like this. If it was 2, it would be like compressing, right? So we are stretching it. We are stretching it by coefficient of a half, or by factor of half. So if that is stretching here, if that is half there, so the point, if I stretch this point, will stay there, but this one I stretch it, I move it. So yeah, by half there, I will multiply this by 2. So 45 is multiplied by 2, so it will be there now. So this multiplied by 2 will be at 180 degrees. Let's do that. So the asymptote now will be at 180 degrees. The asymptote will be at 180 degrees because I'm stretching this thing by factor of a half. Now it's at 180 degrees. Now even this other one here, which was at minus 90 degrees, I factor of a half, I go that way there to minus 180 degrees. So I've got it to minus 180 degrees like that. You can see that now the graph is like will be stretched, and when it's stretched, this point here, if I stretch this point, it stays there. If that is multiplied by 2, because we said it's half, so by 2 there it goes to 90 degrees, so that point will be in line with 90. So we'll have a point at 90 there. The other one here, this was at minus 45, now it will be in line with minus 90, so we'll have a point over there. So if I were to draw the graph now, you can see that the graph does something like this. Stretch like that. Let's answer the question. So the question is, discuss the period of this graph. Again, we said you take a 180 degrees, now we divide by that number by half there. So what is 180 divided by half? It's now becoming 360 degrees. To discuss the transformation, we say here the transformation is, this is a horizontal stretch by factor of a half. Okay, on your own, ladies and gentlemen, can you take from your Siavula textbook, chapter 5, exercise 5.28 and 5.29, 5.30 and 5.31. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen.